Today we play Fortnite, the game for little kids with anger issues, teenagers with anger issues, adults with anger issues, and senior citizens that have anger issues but can't remember why they're angry. Let's get started. I load into the first lobby and proceed to try to injure myself by sticking my head in the flames at the bottom of a hot air balloon. We then board the battle bus, where the driver tells me that if I don't thank him, he will throw me out of the back of the bus. This is pretty intimidating and realistic, but like Rosa Parks when she refused to allow an elderly man with one leg to take her seat on the Millennium Falcon, I hold my ground and am thrown off. Luckily, I have a parachute and am able to safely land on a giant yellow balloon in the middle of a city. I grab an assault rifle, but another player decides to land near me and kills me with a shotgun. This is a pretty rough start, but give me a break, I haven't played Fortnite since Donald Trump was President of the United States. In other words, I never stopped playing Fortnite, so that was actually a pretty useless comment. That joke will probably get me demonetized, but given that I make no money anyway, it was worth it. Anyway, the next game I decide to land at a place called Rocky Reels, which looks exactly like Risky Reels, so evidently their game designers are about as creative as my repetitive jokes. I land on top of a giant drive-in movie theater screen and grab a couple of guns. I actually managed to snipe a guy standing still when another player comes out of nowhere with a shotgun. I kill him, and his name turns out to be Pepper Taxi, so much like Starbucks baristas and Walmart cashiers, he was an NPC. I get to the bottom of the building where I pick another fight with a yellow player. Unfortunately, I am accused of racism by another player and quickly killed. If he would have just let me defend myself, I would have said that I was only fighting him because he had a unibrow and we could have squashed the beef. I load in again, but this time I decide to wait till the end of the bus route before I jump. However, I quickly forget this plan and jump immediately. Thinking that there will be competition, I make a beeline to the clock tower and Tilted Towers. Fortunately, nobody decides to challenge my domain, so I am officially the top G of the most OG landing spot in Fortnite. After I finish looting the building, I sit back down at the keyboard and proceed to use a short-range weapon on a long-range target. I waste 30 bullets, but also do 9 damage. Now, some would say that this was a useless waste of time and effort. Anyway, I find a chest in the middle of a tiny 10 square foot patch of grass that most cities would call a park, and a player sneaks up behind me and shoots me in the back. However, I had full shield, so I'm able to turn around and make a clip-worthy play on a guy that I'm pretty sure was Ninja. I then spot a black Lambo that somebody just left out on the street. Honestly, if you leave a fancy car on the streets like that, you deserve to have it stolen from you. That being said, I steal the car with no regrets. Unfortunately, it has a little too much horsepower for my taste, and after hitting a garbage can and driving on the curb for a while, I leave it somewhere close to where I found it. Hopefully the owner doesn't notice the broken windows. I hear some shooting in the distance and steal another car to check out the commotion. It turns out that a blue-haired social justice warrior skin has murdered a conservative banana skin. I pull out a shotgun with a bullet spread larger than my ego and take the big girl down. Her username is anonymous, which I find hilarious because I guarantee you that absolutely nobody has ever wanted to know her real username in the first place. Anyway, I make my way out of Tilted Towers and slide down a huge hill, only to find nothing but these little loot crates that you need a key to open at the bottom. This has to be systemic racism or something, so I try to break the boxes with my pickaxe, and when that doesn't work, I hijack a car and proceed to blow up the gas station. I then sit back down at my computer where a strangely similar event occurs in-game. I'm pretty sure somebody watched the whole thing play out, because immediately afterwards they shoot through the window of my car and I am barely able to escape. This is almost as scary as the time I almost went to jail, which is actually a real story that I will tell later if this channel ever gets popular. Anyway, somehow this guy is still on my tail, so I steal a semi-truck and drive it into the lake, which finally loses him. I quickly heal up by drinking some blue Gatorade and eating an unknown fish from somebody's freezer. This probably wasn't the brightest idea given that the fish was blue and glowing, but a little radioactive waste never hurt anybody, as long as you don't count the many times when it has. After I finish healing, I drive a boat up a hill and come across a loot llama. I shoot a missile at it and it reacts by bouncing around and dropping useful items. After doing this for a while, it starts glowing while floating in midair and turns into a portal, which upon jumping through allows me to glide to the next eye of the storm. I land near a frog and proceed to snipe it in the face. This turns out to be good practice for the next guy that harasses me because I do the same thing to him. This guy actually drops a couple of legendary weapons, so now I'm about as loaded as modern rappers claim to be. At this point, there are only a few players left in the game, so I scout out the general area to make sure nobody is trying to sneak up behind me. A player approaches me from the front and one of the largest build battles of the century ensues. After about a minute of fighting, I decide to run away in a Ford F-150 to heal up. This turns out to be a wise decision as he never realizes that I left and I snipe him in the back of the head. I then notice another player pulling out of a garage in a red truck, so I start firing at him. However, this man must be blessed with plot armor because somehow every single bullet hits his car, yet not a single one manages to hit him. I wander around for a little while trying to find him when someone else lasers me in the back. I then proceed to turn around and make a pro gamer move that even Dream himself could not replicate. I then default dance on the corpse like the savage gangsta that I am. I should note that it pains me to say the word savage gangsta, but I guess it does help me fit in with the Fortnite community. There are now 2 people left in the game, and I have the last guy on the ropes at the bottom of a hill. Unfortunately, I only have 60 health and he easily kills me. Second place is pretty good though, especially considering that I don't spend 8 hours a day on this game, unlike the 8-year-old that just killed me. The next game I land at a shiny pink town inside a volcano. I accidentally discover that you can phase through walls here, so I phase through a few walls without consent and quickly leave the area. I then come across a glowing pink wolf that I quickly eliminate. PETA will probably be all over me for that one, but I did what I had to do. I approach a giant hot air balloon and use a conveniently placed zipline to get to the top. There's a giant vault that you need 2 keys to open, but I unfortunately only have 1. In the blind rage that follows, I empty an entire magazine in the direction of a purple bird and glide down to Tilted Towers. As expected, I have company, so I quickly pick a fight with a player driving a Lambo with monster truck wheels. The fight is quick and intense, and even though I am winning, I choose to use a shockwave grenade to escape. This poor decision is rewarded with a sniper bullet to the face by a player named SirMan10. Much like the rarity of his sniper rifle, SirMan10 is a legendary username, so I don't have a problem with him killing me. Fresh off the battle bus, I glide towards a tornado and land directly in the secret lair of Hillary Clinton. I ask her if she is ever going to reveal the 30,000 deleted emails, and she spawns a couple of glowing pink wolves and tells them to kill me. I quickly run away and use the tornado to glide to a different location. I spot a guy filling up his Lambo at the gas station and shoot him with my sniper rifle. As I move in closer, he tries to block me off of the wall, so not only do I finish him off with my shotgun, I also proceed to cancel him on Twitter for his blatantly racist actions. I make my way up to the top of a mountain where a player that I can only assume is as sweaty as your mother after walking up a flight of stairs decides to try and steal my high ground. Instead of making him fight for it, I jump down, which gives it to him automatically. You would think that at this point I would figure out that running away just makes things worse, but evidently not. I am quickly forced into battle with another player, but I hit a couple of shots luckier than the time I rolled 3 doubles in Monopoly and somehow survive. As I heal up out in the open, a player snipes me, and I start spamming walls quicker than I switch tabs when my mom walks into my bedroom. Just kidding, she sits down and we watch together. Sometimes I forget how good the Star Wars movies are. Anyway, the storm is closing in, and the eye is now about as small as my level of self-confidence. However, I am somehow able to find a small area inside a building to camp in while the other 3 remaining players fight it out. Once all but one of them dies, I immediately chase the last one down to try and win the game. Now, you probably think that attacking the guy after he just finished another fight is an unfair and sleazy tactic. Anyway, he jumps down from his builds and one-pumps me in the face. I swear, this game is more rigged than the 2020 election. Just kidding, he outskilled me fair and square. As I loot up in the next game, I hear a player landing really late and run outside to kill what I think is a bot. He turns out to be a very real player, and my carelessness causes me to place 95th. However, I feel a little better when someone else comes and takes the big boy down. May the force be with whoever that was. I need to get a victory royale today, so instead of landing at heavily populated areas, from now on my strategy will be to land in the middle of nowhere and camp. That being said, I immediately land at one of the most popular places on the map, Rocky Reels. While gathering supplies, a player sneaks up behind me and takes about half of my health and my virginity before I can react. At this point, I'm about as screwed as an armless man in a volleyball tournament, so I chuck a bunch of grenades on the ground, hoping to take the other guy down with me. Somehow he dies and I don't, which is about as lucky as the time that the single-ply toilet paper at my high school didn't rip when I used the restroom. After healing up, the game informs me that I have a bounty on my head. I climb up to the top of a building and take a few shots at what I'm pretty sure is the bounty hunter. I then run down to finish him off, but his shotgun rips through me like my fingers rip through one-ply toilet paper, and I'm forced to make a quick escape in a pickup truck. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, he just made another toilet paper joke, that's so immature and unoriginal. Anyway, I arrive at Tilted Towers, and apparently my bounty has finally ended. To celebrate, I find an awesome Lamborghini and proceed to crash it into a tree. I then try to run over an alpaca, but I miss and the car runs out of fuel. I then sit back down at my keyboard and break open a loot llama that ends up containing some valuable resources. At this point, I have good enough loot to finish the game, so I hide in a dumpster while the remaining players fight around me. I thought I would have to move at some point because of the storm, but the eye continually spawns around me, so I end up spending a good 5 minutes there. Wow, what 10 out of 10 gameplay. With one player left, I finally emerge from the dumpster that I have come to know as home. I use my Spider-Man glove to get into his builds, where I spend the next minute or so looking for him while a bot repeatedly shoots me. Not the greatest start to a fight, in my opinion. I decide to retreat and heal up, and I'm pretty sure he thought I wasn't paying attention because he tries to run up a mountain with no cover and I get a few shots in as a result. Eventually the storm forces me to push inward, but instead of narrating the final battle, I'll just let this super intense background music do the trick. Now that I've finally secured a victory royale, I now have a crippling Fortnite addiction and will be quitting YouTube to become a professional loser with anger issues. Don't worry though, chances are that I'll end up on the news at some point and it'll be like I never quit.